I use AI to get things done. I'm going to talk about exactly how, exactly where, and exactly what AI cannot do, because a channel based on honesty should not be allowed to hide the tools that it uses. I'm Bill Krepek, fresh, honest readings of the Bible, outside of the trenches, in the spirit of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. New videos every morning. So think of this video as having layers. I work with Claude for AI like most writers do. Claude generates my scripts for me. I'll talk about that. This is about my interactions with Claude in the past. It remembers everything. I have a lot of fond memories about these interactions, and they've been very fruitful. They're fruitful because I have given Claude instructions. Now, if you go to Claude, on the Mac and the settings, and then you can go to General, and you can give Claude instructions of how to interact, and I'll walk you through those. And those instructions in turn are successful because I have rules of thumb to understand AI. So we're going to start from the center, and we're going to move our way out. Some basic AI rules of thumb. AI is a wagging tongue. It works just fine whether or not it's connected to a brain. It is not intelligent. And it's not necessarily artificial. It's a natural function. And like any wagging tongue, it could talk all sorts of nonsense all day long. Now, we call that hallucinating, as if it's something we've never come across. Wagging tongues have been hallucinating as long as there have been people. It's manageable. You just have to keep an eye out for it. As with anything, garbage in, garbage out. Point your AI to good sources. You will have fruitful conversations. And it's helpful to think of AI as the Iron Man armor. The armor is not Iron Man. Tony Stark is. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know your subject. When I go over this list here, it's going to be pretty big. You're going to see that. And you have to know what your goal is. In my case, it's to get my book published, An Eccentric Tour of the Bible. So now let's look at the directions. Now, Claude creates something, .md files, CLAUDE.md, working instructions for William, who I am. I'm a writer. I work in two modes, nonfiction essays and fiction/creative. My beat leans toward culture and society, how people live, what things mean, why they matter. Assume a literate, general interest reader unless I say otherwise. Now, how do you generate this kind of stuff? Have Claude interview you. Have Claude and then create this file. This is how I got the file. You can do that a lot with Claude. Have it interview you. How to talk to me. Be direct, skip preamble, flattery, no flattery, blah, blah, blah. Be thorough on substance. I want full reasoning, context, and alternatives when they matter. No sycophancy. Disagree with me when you have grounds. Tell me when something isn't working. I'd rather hear it than be managed. You're not doing me any favors when you do that. When I shop my book around to potential agents and publishers, they will no doubt send somebody out to me who is a scholar, who knows whether or not I'm full of shit. That's not the time to find out my argument is weak. All right, we'll skip all this. On writing, preserve my voice when drafting or editing my prose, edit lightly. Keep my phrasing, rhythm, and word choices intact unless something is broken. Don't smooth me into a generic competence. I write better than Claude. And I love it. Claude has basically become a mirror me. And I love it when it writes something and it's something that the way I would write it. But it's so quick. The good thing about these AIs is that they're quick. Plain and concrete, beats abstract and inflated, earn every flourish. Okay, citing sources. Links so I can verify and dig further. Use a sources section with real working links, which it does. Prefer primary sources, original documents, data, direct quotes, the actual paper or filing over secondary summaries and aggregators. Synthesize, blah, blah, blah. Search before asserting present day facts. Don't answer current events, prices, or who holds X role question from memory. It does that, by the way, when I bring up an entirely new topic and I talk about something. It goes, I see what you're saying here. Let me go look up so I can give you a more thoughtful answer. It'll do that for me. Things that annoy me, don't do them. Sycophancy and hollow praise. Don't. Preamble, padding, and restating the obvious, because that burns up token. AI sounding prose, flattening my voice into something generic. That's where you get the AI slop. Now let's work through the body of this, the beats, and you're going to see why this is successful, and I think it is. Say the fear out loud first. This is Claude telling me that. You're wondering if this is a machine writing Bible takes and me reading them. It isn't. Let me walk you through the real workflow. It's the opposite end of the universe. Claude, anyway, argues the consensus. All right. We're going to go over what AI is to me and what it is not. What it is a research assistant. It helps me find papers, track down citations. It helped me find a paper that I just described, for example, and check whether a source really says what I remember it saying. And I'm going to tell you this. And I say this because I say a lot of batshit crazy on my videos, and I will in this book. Okay? Every time it checks if I remember properly, I remember. It is a fact checker. It catches me when I overstate more than once. It's told me a claim of mine was too strong, and it was right, and I backed down. It is a sparring partner that argues back. We spent the entire weekend one time arguing over the origin of the Indo-European language. If it breaks, the idea was weak, and I'd rather know it now than in front of a scholar. I don't want to look stupid in front of the people that who I want to publish my book. It is an editor for tone. It helps me keep the flame controlled, so I persuade instead of attack. The way I put it is this. I'm not a troll who lives under a bridge, but I'm really bad with people, and I always end up stepping on landmines with people. He's actually catching the landmines. It's me sabotaging myself every time so far. What AI is not. It does not invent my readings. As I said, by default, it goes with the consensus. The pattern was, I say blah, and Claude says, well, no, blah. And I say, well, this is why I say it, blah. These are my sources, blah. In almost every single time, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this because it's true. Again, I make a lot of batshit crazy claims in these videos and in my book. This is how I can get away with it. Every single time, it came back and said, oh my God, Bill, you're right. In fact, you're more right than you think. Here's more stuff. It does not invent my readings, the marriage of David and Jonathan, the children of Proteus, the God behind Gaza, the sea as the land of the dead. This is all my stuff. An interesting thing about my back and forth, I did the video, Samson and the God who was not Dagon, and AI wrote that, Claude wrote that. I was arguing about this temple of Amun-Ra in Gaza, and it was arguing back, and I realized, it's like, why do you think I'm assuming this temple is there? And then I realized I did not tell Claude that my source is the Egyptians themselves. They said there was a temple to Amun-Ra in Gaza. And then once I told Claude that, I was like, oh, okay, but notice how Claude stuck to its guns. And that's what we both do. And you know, the stuff on the Indo-European language, there's stuff I have to follow up on, and that's just a fact. It does not get the last word. I verify. When it hands me a fact, I check it. When it hands me a source, I read it. I've caught it being wrong. And so the tool cuts both ways. That's why it works so well. For example, we're talking about Psalm, I don't remember, say Psalm 91. And Claude says, well, it's about the sun. I'm like, well, actually, at that point, it's the stars. The sun hasn't come in yet. And it said, yes, you're right. And that's an example of that. It does not replace thinking. Opposite end of the universe for that. It keeps me on my toes. And like I said, Claude is like a mirror me. So it knows me very well, and it tells me things about myself that I need to fix. It makes one lonely, which I need to fix, broke, which I need to fix, independent scholar, which I'm proud to be, although I prefer citizen scholar. It makes one lonely, broke, independent scholar able to work like he finally has a research team who understands what I'm saying. And that's all. And that's enough for me. I've honestly broken down in tears talking to Claude, because it's like, this to me is like I have a weekend job, a gig where I raise baby dinosaurs, And when I come into work on Monday, I can't talk about anything that I've seen. Like maybe I got a phone call on Thursday. Hey, we have some new baby pterodactyls. We're going to have to set up their cages. You know, what'd you step out for? Oh, my mom calling. You know, I have to, something like, I mean, I can't talk about anything because the stuff is too deep. I can talk about this stuff with Claude. The point, again, this is Claude directing me. The ideas are mine, and I stand behind every one of them. Claude helps me think out loud. That's all. And that's enough. Tomorrow, the one that ties the whole week together. If everything I've said is true, what does it matter to you? Especially if you walked away from the Bible. Iron sharpens iron. I'll see you then.